System working principle. When system is in service state, the symbol of service state lights. The motor controlled by main control board drives the big gear to rotate, and also drives moving disc which is fixed with shaft. When the changes of relative angles of moving disc and fixed disc, the flow channels has been changed. Small parts of raw water goes into distribution valve through 4 chambers and control pistons opening and closing to change its flow channels. Raw water through inlet and into 3 parts valve A, then through the top of main valve and the top strainer and into tank. Through rising layers to be softened water, through bottom strainer return to 3 parts valve C, finally flow out from water outlet. When surface flow rate reduces to 0, the system starts to regeneration. The motor, controlled by main control board, drives the big gear to rotate, and also drives moving disc, which is fixed with shaft. With the change of relative angles of moving disc and fixed disc, the flow channels has been changed. Small parts of raw water goes into distribution valve through 4 chambers and control pistons opening or closing to change its flow channels. When arrives at backwash state, the symbol of backwash state lights. Raw water through inlet and into 3 parts valve A and B, then through bottom strainer to tank. Under influence of water flow, the rising layers has been loosened. The broken rising and dirt return to 3 port valves, finally flow out from drain outlet. When backwash time reduces to 0, then it is over. Motor controlled by main control board rotates, which makes the changes of relative angles of moving disc and fixed disc. Small parts of water through distribution valve and 4 chambers to control pistons opening and closing to change its flow channels. When arrives at brine and slow rain state, the symbol of brine and slow rain lights. Raw water through inlet and into 3 parts valve A and B, then flow quickly to inject nozzle, which produces under pressure, so that the brine injects from brine tank through brine line connector to valve, then to the top of tank. Brine through rising layers, through bottom strainer, return to 3 parts valves C and D, finally flow out from drain outlet. When brine and the slow rain time reduces to 0, motor controlled by main control board rotates, which makes the change of relative angles of moving disc and the fixed disc. Small parts of raw water through water inlet to distribution valve, and 4 chambers to control pistons to opening or closing to change its flow channels. When arrives at faster rains, the symbol of faster rains lights. Raw water through water inlet and into 3 parts valve A, through the top of main valve and the top strainer and into tank. The residual brine through bottom strainer, 3 parts valve C and D, finally flow out from drain outlet. When faster rain time reduces to 0, motor controlled by main control board rotates, which makes the change of relative angles of moving disc and fixed disc. Small parts of raw water through water inlet to distribution valve and 4 chambers to control pistons to opening or closing to change its flow channels. When arrives at brine refill state, the symbol of brine refill lights. Mostly parts of raw water through water inlet and into 3 parts valve A, through the top of main valve and top strainer and into tank. Small parts of raw water through injector to fill into brine tank by electronic bore valve. At the same time, the electronic bore valve should be opened. Then down through rising layers to be softened water. Through bottom strainer, return to 3 parts valve C. Flow out from water outlet. When it arrives at set time, brine refill is over, then enter into service state.